During the final days of the Civil War, in a remote and tranquil rural field, Wales is working the land with his obedient and sweet-natured son. At the sound of his mother's call, the boy stumbles and runs back home. These seemingly peaceful and harmonious days are unaware of the looming disaster. Wales hears the rapid sound of approaching hoofbeats and sees thick black smoke rising from the direction of his home. Wales rushes back in a panic, amid the cries of his wife and child. He sees their house engulfed in roaring flames. He witnesses his wife being dragged onto a horse by attackers, while his son calls out desperately from within the fire. Wales tries to charge into the blaze to save his child, but Terrell strikes him down with a blade, leaving him unconscious in a fury of rage. When Wales regains consciousness, he is overwhelmed with grief as he buries the body of his son, recovered from the ruins, but the anguish tearing at his soul cannot be soothed. He digs out his Colt revolver, known as the Wind Rider, and fires wildly at a wooden post, venting his soul-crushing pain. The attackers who destroyed Wales' home were the Redlegs, a notorious group led by Terrell. Southern Captain Fletcher encountered the melancholic Wales here, inviting him to join the team to eradicate the Red Leg army and avenge deep-seated grievances. Wales agrees to the invitation, but the days of fighting fiercely against a common enemy are short-lived. The once victorious Confederate army is now facing inevitable defeat. Even their highest commander has surrendered. All that remains is Fletcher's small band of a few dozen soldiers. They have become the final holdouts, refusing to capitulate. Under dire threat of annihilation, Fletcher couldn't bear to see his brothers perish together in the face of the total eradication. In the end, he compromised, deciding to disarm in front of the Southern-led Federal Army for amnesty, saving his brothers in the process. He could also secure a comfortable position for himself. With a touch of regret, the group walked towards the Federal Army's camp, led by the silent Wales, who then quietly observed from a distance. As they surrendered their weapons, Fletcher met his archenemy Terrell while facing the senator, now a captain in the Federal Army. Fletcher accused Terrell of various crimes, branding him as the worst enemy. The senator replied, stating that the war was over, winners prevailed, and spoils belonged to them. When the senator ordered Terrell to arrest Wales with 5 others, Fletcher disdainfully remarked that Wales was not so easily captured. Offering a bounty to Fletcher, the senator hinted that capturing Wales would bring more rewards if done with Terrell. As Fletcher refused, Wales noticed soldiers lurking behind the tents, poised to strike the disarmed group. Unbeknownst to them, just as they were about to finish their oath, danger quietly crept in. Seeing this, Wales rode in swiftly, intending to rescue them, but it was too late. At the officer's command, the machine guns opened fire, rendering the defenseless group helpless as they fell one by one. Wales charged into the camp, fighting back fiercely. Witnessing this scene, Fletcher roared in anger, questioning the senator's notion of dignified treatment. The senator arrogantly retorted, dismissing them as mere rogues deserving of a dignified execution. Nothing more. Fletcher, now powerless in the vacuum of authority, had no choice but to yield. Evading the machine gun fire, Wales surveyed the soldiers surrounding him, his resolve firm in this fight for life and death. Seeing an opportunity amid the chaos, Jamie mounted a horse and signaled Fletcher to escape, warning him of the trap. Unexpectedly ambushed by Terrell, Jamie was tragically shot. Seeking refuge behind Wales, Jamie urged him to retreat quickly. Despite their fierce resistance, when the group closed in, the two managed to escape safely. The senator ordered Fletcher to bring Wales back at any cost, even to the ends of the earth. Fletcher coldly replied, "Your actions today leave me no choice but to kill him." Wales and Jamie planned to head to the Native American territory to heal their wounds before seeking vengeance against Fletcher. As they peacefully crossed the riverbank, Terrell and his men caught up. Enticed by the hefty bounty on Wales, the ferryman swiftly rowed back to the other shore, intending to bring Terrell and his pursuers across. With a blockade of 40 to 50 men ahead and Terrell's group in pursuit, Wales calmly waited for the right moment. When the boat reached the middle of the river, Wales decisively attacked, severing the ropes. The boat spun out of control in the rapids, throwing everyone overboard. Seizing the opportunity, the two fled and found a temporary refuge. Just as Wales prepared to tend to Jamie's gunshot wound, a gun was suddenly aimed at him. 2 bounty hunters had discovered Wales. Jamie deceived the bounty hunters by claiming he had gold hidden under his mat, leading to one's demise by Jamie's shot. Wales swiftly took down the other assailant. After days of turmoil and hardship, they reached the edge of the Native American territory, blocked by a cavalry unit stationed there. Planning to slip through during a torrential downpour at night, Jamie succumbed to severe infection from his wound, leaving Wales alone and grieving, unable to give Jamie a dignified burial amidst their escape. Unable to bear it, he helped Jamie onto a horse, urging it towards the cavalry camp in the hope of giving Jamie a more dignified burial. In the jungle, Wales encountered the Native American elder Waddy, who revealed that General Bill had not surrendered and had taken some soldiers to Mexico. In their shared sorrow, Waddy, who had lost his home and family in the flames of war, asked Wales to help him find a horse at a nearby trading post, planning to escape to Mexico together. Upon arriving at the trading post, Welsh found two burly men bullying an Indian woman. Maintaining his composure, Wales inquired about buying the horses outside while keeping an eye on the troublemakers. One of the men recognized him as the wanted Wales, aiming to capture him. However, Wales calmly disarmed them, causing the men to fall to the ground. The woman, originally from the Valho tribe, had been forcibly abducted by the Scion people. After being bullied, the pack refuses to accept her in the name of uncleanliness. Another homeless person on the run, Wales, Waddy, Little Moonlight, and a stray dog embarked on a long journey together. Arriving in a small town in Texas to restock supplies, Wales observed the town's situation from the store entrance. An elderly woman, Grandma Sarah from Kansas, scolded Wales for spitting, but he paid no heed. As Wales left the store after shopping, a liquor salesman accosted him. Recognizing Wales from their previous encounter on the ferry, the salesman exclaimed, "Oh my God, it's Wales!" which drew the attention of four nearby officers watching intently. As they prepared to attack, Wales swiftly took down three of them, with Waddy dispatching the fourth. Wales pushes the salesman back and quickly mounts his horse, and the two of them flee the town quickly in pairs. The soldiers in the town quickly regroup to pursue them. Little Moonlight blocked their path, only to be violently struck down by an officer, prompting a chase. Wales and his companions escaped safely to the edge of the desert. Waddy, lying low, hears horses tracking them from afar in the desert. They prepare to ambush and deal with the trackers. Waddy lunges, knocking a person off his horse, and the woman retaliates, pinning Waddy down and attempting to stab him with a knife. Halted by Wales just in time, the tracker turns out to be Little Moonlight. Waddy, grateful for the intervention, admits he nearly killed her. Pleased with her arrival bearing supplies, claiming a chieftain status, Waddy impresses Little Moonlight, fostering an admiration-filled bond between them. Entering Comanche territory, they spot a group of bandits near a hill, plundering Grandma Sarah and her companions. Beside the slain steward, the agonized elderly lady weeps, while the bandits ransack for riches. Moving a piano reveals a hidden girl, Laura, innocent and captivating. Helpless Laura, with her pure and shy demeanor, gazes timidly at the aggressive bandits who are momentarily mesmerized by her beauty. Before the storm of violence, a dreadful silence falls. The bandits, like hungry wolves, push and pull, teeth bared, dragging Laura to the ground, where she lies defenseless and terrified. An enraged Wales, about to draw his gun, is halted by their leader, who plans to present the pure Laura to Comanche chief 10 Bears in exchange for valuable horses. Careless Waddy's accidental fall alerts the bandits to his presence, leading to his capture. The leader of the bandits told Laura to dress up and put on her best clothes. The old man, Laura, and Waddy were escorted by the bandits to trade them for horses. Wales has long regarded Waddy as a comrade in arms, and seeing him captured has galvanized Wales' determination to rid the world of these criminals. He remained cold and composed, riding towards the bandits with a white flag in hand. As the leader ordered a subordinate to check, Waddy intoned, "Get ready, ladies, the devil is coming to the feast." The four bandits taunted, asking if he would sell his good horse for a high price. Wales, unruffled, remained silent before spitting on the ground. As the bandits moved to attack, Wales swiftly drew his gun, bringing them down in an instant. Seeing the situation turning dire, the bandit leader attempted to flee. Wales rode swiftly, annihilating all the bandits. As he untied the captives, Wales deflected by saying, "If it weren't for that Little Moonlight, I would have been in Mexico by now." "I can't understand a word he says." Gratefully, Waddy remarked, "I knew you would come." When Wales untied Laura, she pointed towards a distance, crying for help. Wales saw that the Comanches were watching their every move closely, and Wales hastened to lead the crowd away quickly. As fellow wanderers, they now had two elderly women and children, a girl, the stray dog, and the ox in their group. After a long journey, they arrived in the small town of St. Neots. This is a small town with few people. The streets were almost deserted, and there were a few people standing on the side of the road. After looking at them, Wales could tell that they were bounty hunters. Stopping at a tavern, Wales ordered a whiskey only to find none available, not even beer. Turning away, he returned to the cart, carrying a whole case of whiskey, declaring, "Today, I'll treat everyone to a drink." The group cheered and celebrated. While everyone was celebrating with drinks and laughter, a man burst into the room, claiming he was looking for Wales. Wales responded, "That's me. Are you a bounty hunter?" The man replied, "Everyone has to make a living these days." Wales spoke with heavy emotion, "Seeking death isn't a way to make a living. You should leave." The man hesitated for a moment but eventually walked out of the tavern. Moments later, the door swung open again. The man returned, looking somewhat resigned. "I have no choice but to come back," he said. Wales, now deeply solemn, simply said, "I understand." With a quick draw of his gun, Wales fired. The man fell instantly, his body landing outside the door. Several onlookers outside saw this and immediately fled to call for reinforcements. Wales then led the group, driving cattle and horses to the farm once owned by the old man's son. Though abandoned, the farm was still a fertile land with beautiful scenery. The old man encouraged everyone, saying, "From now on, this will be home for all of us." They began tidying up rooms, chopping wood, and building fences. The peaceful and serene atmosphere brought back memories of Wales' former home, stirring a sense of sorrow in his heart. As he turned around, he noticed Laura standing quietly behind him, her pure and innocent eyes fixed on him. When Wales met her gaze, she smiled sweetly and ran off. Wales lowered his head in silence, perhaps understanding that some things were destined never to be his. The weight of responsibility now felt even heavier on his shoulders. He was no longer a lone fugitive. He had to take on the duty of protecting this group of unfortunate and defenseless people. Waddy and a few others greeted Wales warmly as they prepared to drive the cattle to town for trade. Meanwhile, the old man and Laura sang heartfelt hymns, their voices filled with emotion. Little Moonlight swayed awkwardly to the rhythm of the music. Suddenly, Waddy, injured and on horseback, rushed back with urgent news. "Shadow and a few others have been captured by 10 bears. They'll be coming after us soon." Wales carefully arranged everyone in a room made of mud, patiently instructing them over and over on how to hide, how to shoot, and how to save themselves. Early the next morning, Wales packed his gear, preparing to set off. Laura, filled with worry, asked where he was going. Waddy explained, "He's at his best on horseback. He's a guerrilla fighter. He's going to strike first, ambush them, and head to the valley to take out 10 bears. He'll kill as many of them as he can." The old man, puzzled, asked, "How will he come back then?" Waddy, with a touch of sorrow, shook his head and replied, "He's not coming back." Hearing this, Laura ran out the door, shouting Wales' name. Wales hesitated briefly but didn't turn back. Determined, he mounted his horse and disappeared into the distance. In the valley, Wales calmly and fearlessly arrived at 10 Bears territory alone. 10 Bears, leading his men with an imposing aura, came out to confront him. After a heartfelt and honest conversation, the two warriors, both heroes in their own right, found mutual respect. Moved by this respect, the honorable 10 Bears agreed to Wales' proposal for peaceful coexistence. The two swore an oath of blood, sealing their agreement. Wales successfully brought back the captives to the farm, safe and sound. Laura, filled with admiration and reverence, approached Wales' horse, gazing at him with deep affection. Wales gently stroked Laura's arm, smiling softly. People began celebrating their survival, drinking, singing, and dancing together. Wales requested a song, "The Rose of Alabama," Jamie's favorite tune when he was alive. Two people who didn't know how to dance swayed gracefully to the music. Under the night sky, innocence and purity intertwined with chivalry and tenderness. But as with all beautiful moments, the night was fleeting. At dawn, Wales, with a heavy heart, gently caressed Laura's face as she slept. Knowing that staying would put everyone's newfound peace at risk, he had to leave. Packing his belongings, he was about to mount his horse when Waddy appeared. Wales, with care in his voice, said to Waddy, "Get the women some pretty clothes. Buy something special for Laura. I'll be back in the spring, maybe next spring." Waddy, his eyes brimming with tears, nodded in agreement. The cowboy climbed onto his horse, silently bidding farewell to everyone in his heart, and rode away into the horizon. As Wales reached the riverbank near the farm, Terrell appeared, having tracked him down. Smirking, Terrell sneered at Wales. "You're alone again," Waddy replied firmly. "He's not alone." Inside the house, everyone raised their rifles, aiming through the windows. Terrell's expression changed to one of shock. The tension was palpable. and the fight was on the verge of erupting. Wales drew his gun and fired swiftly, taking down several of Terrell's men, but the enemies were too many. Wales was shot in the arm and fell off his horse. In that moment, the defenseless women and elderly, spurred on by Wales' unyielding courage, found strength in their shared hatred for their oppressors. With unity and determination, they fought back fiercely, turning the tide of the battle. Terrell was the only one left. Seeing that the tide had turned, he fled on horseback. Wales, wanting to finish him off, pulled the trigger but found his gun empty. Without hesitation, he leapt onto a horse and gave chase. Following the trail of blood, Wales tracked Terrell's path, fueled by the rage of losing his wife and child. Wales raised his empty gun and stalked toward Terrell with intimidating resolve. As Terrell reached for his blade, Wales reacted with lightning speed, grabbing the long knife and driving it deep into Terrell's chest. With this, the long-awaited vengeance was complete. Terrell was dead. When Wales returned to the saloon in town, he found two mounted officers investigating the recent skirmish. The patrons in the saloon, seemingly in unison, began referring to Wales as Mr. Wilson. They gave statements to the officers, claiming Wales had faced off against 5 gunmen and been killed after taking out 3 of them. Wales' old friend and former comrade, Fletcher, stood quietly nearby. Observing the scene, Fletcher spoke up. "I don't believe 5 men could have taken Wales down," a woman teased. "Maybe it was 6 or 10. Fletcher shook his head, replying, "I think he's still alive. I'll go to Mexico to find him." Wales, now weak and bleeding, interjected. "And then?" Fletcher responded earnestly. "Then I'll tell him I owe him one, and I'll tell him the war is over." Looking at Wales' injuries, Fletcher added with sincerity. Wales, his voice faint, said, "I think we all died in that damned war." With that, Wales, carrying his wounds and sorrow, set off once more on an uncertain journey. He rode his horse into the distance, vanishing in the golden glow of the setting sun. Fine wine, fleeting blossoms, and moments of joy. In a world torn by chaos, despair is etched into barren wood. If betrayal covers the land, how many remain true in heart? Heroes have always been solitary, justice forever burdened by loneliness. Thank you for watching today's review. I'm a film enthusiast. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you next time.